Today, I've got terrible news for anyone hoping to buy new hardware. Valve's new Steam machine could be the end of Xbox, and AMD's next-gen tech has finally been released, and I get a chance to check it out. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. This video is sponsored by Micro Center. Okay, it's news time, and first up for today, I know I've talked about memory prices more than once now, but things just got a whole lot worse. For those who haven't been keeping up with the channel, we've seen multiple stories talk about memory prices going up from predictions to it actually happening. And today, I'll prove to you that it won't be getting better anytime soon. But before I get to that, I first have this story on Samsung. As you can see right down here, it says the prices of electronic products that use NAND flash memory are likely to continue rising, as Samsung has reportedly increased the prices of its individual memory chips by as much as 60% since September. That's right, we aren't just talking about memory anymore. NAND flash means we're now talking SSDs, which is exactly what ADATA's chairman predicted. You can see it says right here, this follows reports earlier this month that the price for DRAM sticks of memory for desktop computers had increased by over 170% year on year, mostly driven by the high demand for building new AI-focused data centers. So yes, like I've said in the past, this all comes back to AI. But like I said in the beginning, that doesn't look to be getting better anytime soon. And this brings me to the next story, where you can see that memory makers have no plans to increase RAM production despite the crushing memory shortages. Now, your instinct might be to get really mad about this, but keep in mind that memory makers have been through this huge demand in the past with the crypto boom. They don't want to make the mistake of spending the money to increase production only for the AI boom to end. And given a lot of people are predicting that we are currently in an AI bubble, this is fairly smart. Not to mention the fact that companies are spending billions on improving performance of HBM memory as it is. You can see right here that they're looking at spending a whopping $54 billion. So this is definitely understandable. Unfortunately, that still isn't good news for anyone. As Tom's Hardware states, it says we can assume that the ongoing shortage will continue into next year and well into 2027. So like I've said before, if you are hoping to pick up some memory, you really might want to as fast as you can. And next up for today, Valve has officially announced a new console/PC hybrid that could spell the end of Xbox. But first, it's that time of year again, the time that you can buy PC hardware at a reasonable price. And it's all thanks to Micro Center's Black Friday savings event that starts right now. But these deals are only on the weekend, so you do want to check those out pretty fast. Currently, with their November sales, they have some incredible stuff, like the 9800X3D for just $449 or the 9950X3D for $649. They actually have a 9070XT below MSRP, some amazing deals on memory, and a ton more. But that's not even their Black Friday sales. Those are set to be even better. And if you've still never been to a Micro Center, they officially opened their Phoenix, Arizona location with tons of deals there. Don't forget that Micro Center is pretty much the only place you can go in person to get all the parts for your PC build. And somehow they're able to do that while still having some of the best prices in the industry. So check out all of those deals and more down in the description below. Now back to the story. This console is called the Steam Machine. No, not that one, but this one. A newer version of the 2015 console that hopes to follow the success the company made from their Steam Deck. And just like the Steam Deck, the Steam Machine is set to run on the Linux-based Steam OS. The difference is that Valve's new Steam Machine is much more powerful. And this brings us to the specs. As you can see, the Steam Machine comes with a semi-custom Zen 4 based based AMD CPU with 6 cores and 12 threads. And you can see that it gets a clock of up to 4.8 GHz as well as a 30-watt TDP. Then for the integrated GPU, we're looking at an RDNA 3 GPU with 28 CUs. That's a few less than what's in AMD's discrete RX 7600 GPU. Now, that may not sound all that great, but remember that the Steam Deck only has 8 CUs based on RDNA 2, but I'll get to the performance side of it later on. Moving on, the iGPU gets a max sustained clock of 2.45 GHz at 110 watt TDP. When it comes to system memory, it gets 16 GB of DDR5, and for the VRAM, we're looking at 8 GB of GDDR6. Then when it comes to storage, there are going to be 2 Steam machines, one with 512 GB of NVMe SSD storage, and then one with 2 TB of NVMe SSD storage. Now, all of this may not sound that great when you think of a modern PC, but while Valve will let you do things like load other operating systems on it, there's a big reason their Steam Deck can run so well with lower end specs. For one, SteamOS isn't nearly as bloated as Windows, so background tasks don't require so many resources to keep everything running. Plus, with everything running the same hardware, you can get a tight integration between the operating system and hardware, so things can be much better optimized. That's one of the beauties of consoles, and that's why Valve is talking 4K 60 FPS, though it does sound like that's 4K 60 with FSR turned on. Like when PC Gamer got a chance to try it out running Cyberpunk in 4K, they mentioned it having FSR turned on. So there's definitely a concern about that 8 GB of VRAM. Still, that's not too bad. The only issue when it comes to optimization is that these games are ultimately built for PCs first, since we're talking about Steam games. But that's also one of the big benefits. Nearly your entire system library can be played here, and you won't have to buy them again or anything like that. Which brings me to Xbox. There's a reason quite a few outlets are spelling doom of Microsoft's console. I definitely don't think it'll fully kill it or anything, but Microsoft's strategy of being more of a service-oriented console might turn back to bite them. Instead of focusing on exclusives like Sony, Microsoft wanted Xbox to be the branding on both PC and console. But thanks to that strategy, it looks like they could become neither. And lastly for today, AMD's next-gen tech has finally been released. I'm of course talking about FSR Redstone. Remember, that's a bunch of new AMD technologies that utilize machine learning to up the quality of whatever game it's on. That was set to launch in the second half of 2025. And while they technically did make that timing, it's obviously pretty late into the second half. Regardless, one of those technologies was finally released alongside none other than the Call of Duty Black Ops 7 release. Specifically, AMD launched Ray Regeneration. Now, that may sound familiar to NVIDIA's Ray Reconstruction that launched with their DLSS 3.5 release, and that's because it is. As I've said many times, AMD is definitely playing catch up here, but I think it's something that definitely needs to be done, especially things like Ray Regeneration, because this isn't upscaling or frame generation or anything like that. It does still use machine learning, but it's something that's absolutely necessary when it comes to ray tracing. See, what everyone calls real-time ray tracing isn't really real-time ray tracing. Sure, rays are thrown out to simulate photons being emitted and bouncing off of things, but it's usually just one ray per pixel, while offline ray tracing uses anywhere from 60 to thousands of rays per pixel. So the final image requires a host of filters that blend pixels, look at past pixels, etc. to fill in all of the missing information. And that's where Ray Regeneration comes in. It uses machine learning that's been trained on filling in this detail to eliminate some artifacting that happens, make images smoother, etc. Now, I actually got a chance to try it out. AMD sent over a game code, and while playing around, I actually saw quite a few differences. For example, in this clip, you can see the light reflecting on the ceiling has a normal look to it as it refracts cracks off the roof, while the one with default denoising has a bunch of random jagged edges. It just doesn't look right. Then in this scene, there's a huge difference between the two. For one, the one with ray tracing literally looks brighter, but then when you look at the blue in the floor, it also looks like an actual light, while the one without it looks bland without any diffusion. Then right here, you can see a big difference in the two as well. Not only that, but the performance seemed to go up when turning ray regeneration on. Oh, and as of now, unfortunately, this is only supported on the RX 9000 series, so keep that in mind. I'll be testing it out further as time goes on, but ultimately, this is just the start of AMD's upcoming technology, and I'll be interested to see just how well it compares to Nvidia. So while that does it for today, do you think AMD can finally catch up to Nvidia, or are they doomed to always be a bit behind? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to check out Micro Center down in the description below. And as always, have a great day.